Hi, and welcome back to Denim Quilting. I'm Glenda Burton, and today we're continuing on this adventure of making our quilt. It's our scrappy denim tile block quilt. And where we're at in the process is we want to add a border. And to do that, we have to decide on our border. And what I did is I auditioned some of our materials that I wanted. So I thought about doing blocks. So I looked at the blocks, but I didn't really like the blocks. And these are wide enough. There was no separation. I also considered doing strips. This is kind of some strips that I already had. Or continuing our border out one more layer. But that's really narrow and really hard to work with by itself. So then I thought, well, we can do that. And we can add maybe a chunk of, this is one of them I had, this is material I had, to kind of divide it up. But again, this is really narrow and hard to work with. So I thought, well, let's try these these 2-inch square 4 patches. It was too busy for me. Plus, a lot of sewing, and I didn't really know if I wanted to do that. So then we thought, well, maybe let's do a skinny border or another border. And we looked at black. And that would be kind of cool by itself. Probably would have been easier than what I ended up doing. And then we tried the tan, which isn't a bad option either. Basically, we auditioned a lot of different ideas. What we ended up coming up with was, we decided to go with the black, and here, I'll use a smaller strip. We decided to go with the black to kind of as our edge, and then we continued with our background fabric that we're using, which is our blue plaid. So basically, like I said, I just auditioned ideas until I decided I had one that I liked. So I have our quilt. And then for our border, we decided to go with a skinny strip and then a wider strip for the border. And then I have to figure out what I want to do, if I want to make them go like this so that they corner, or if I want this to go all the way out. And I decided to do what I'm going to do. I still like the 4 patches. I'm going to take my 4 patch and I'm going to attach it as cornerstones on the top and bottom. And to determine how much material I need and batting I need, I measured the width of my quilt. That's where I'm starting. I'm starting at the width. Normally you start on the sides, but I decided to start on the top and bottom. That's just the way my brain is working right now. And that's okay. I'm not working from a pattern. I'm just kind of making this up as I go. So I measured the width of my quilt, which comes to approximately 47 inches, which is a little less than width of fabric, which the fabric would be 42 inches. So I am going to cut a width of fabric cut my fabric. I'm going to need two of these that are with the fabric. which is with the fabric, is from selvage to selvage, and this is folded in half. So from selvage to selvage, that's with the fabric. And I decided on this one to be, I'm going to start out with 3 inches. This is just what I decided on. You can do it your borders can be anything you want, but I decided to do 3 inches. Then for my top, for the blue border is 3, and then my black border will be 1.5 inches. I will cut it 1.5 inches to finish 1 inch. And I also cut this width of fabric, and I only need 1 width of fabric for the top. So let's cut our width of fabric. And I'm just cutting through 1 layer because my width of fabric on the bottom is going to be 4 inches. And how I determined that was after I sewed together my top 2 pieces, that gave me 4 inches. So my bottom piece needs to be 4 inches. So let's cut that. Let me find my cutter. I'm going to go ahead and oops. So this is straight. The board's a little slippery. Make sure you got good pressure. So alright, so that's straighten my edge. Apparently it didn't stay straight. Okay, so we're gonna have to do that again. My fabric moved. Let's do that again. Oh yeah, it is. Okay. Okay. So this one's gonna be 3 inches. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Just making sure. Okay, so there's 1. And I'm going to sew these 2 together. I'm going to cut this one 4 inches. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's straight. Oh, got a little crooked. And I moved it. So we're going to cut this one 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure. Count multiple times, cut once. I mean, if I actually ended up cutting it 3, that's okay. I need it for my side anyway. Alright. And then we also need to cut our batting, which I'll do off camera. I'll cut my batting, and my batting I'm going to cut to 4 inches as well as my bottom piece. And I will take this to the sewing machine and sew these 2 together. Alright. First things first, we need to make our top border before we start putting our border together, sandwiching it together. So first things first, we will go ahead and we will put our right sides together, and then we'll just clip them so that they're clipped together, and we can sew them a straight. And that way they'll already be ready for us when we get to the sewing machine. Sometimes I use clips, sometimes I don't. Just depends on what mood I'm in. Today I'm gonna clip, or you can use pins. I just got these new cute little clips and I want to use them. Because they don't poke. Pins poke me. I don't like to be poked. Okay, I'm getting a little bit clip happy over there. This one down. It's just to line our edges. And it's okay if we don't line up exactly, because remember when we cut this, it was longer than what we needed. You guys can be exact. I'm just not that good yet, so cutting exact is okay. But if I have a little extra to play with, that's good. So now we'll take this to the sewing machine and we'll sew down 1/4 inch on the side, and that'll be the top of our top border, or our bottom border. I've already done the top border. So here it goes, and we're off to the races. Sewing our 2 pieces together, a 1/4 inch seam. Little turtle races, because I'm slow. Alright, I'm going to go to the ironing board and I'm going to iron this open, and then we'll start making our sandwich. Go ahead and finger press this a little bit, but I'll go ahead and iron it open, iron it flat, and then we'll sandwich them together, kind of like we did the rest of it. I'll show you how I do that. We've sewed our 3-inch piece and our 1.5 inch piece together for our border. We have cut our batting at 4 inches, and we have cut our backing piece at 4 inches. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, and I use a glue stick. You can use whatever you want, but I'm going to go ahead and glue down the 3 pieces, and I probably will put clips along the top just to keep them from falling apart, but the glue should hold it. We'll see. It's Dollar Tree glue. So we'll start by putting down, and you don't have to put a lot down. I just like to, I'm going to stay away from this edge because we're going to pin it back so that we can sew it onto our quilt. So I'm just kind of going to go in the middle. And pat it down. We'll do it on this piece because it's easier. And my batting is bumpy side down and soft side up. Okay, so probably should have started at the end. That might have been easier, but we'll do it this way. Make sure we're not coming apart. And I left my batting the whole length of it just because I can cut it when I'm done. It's easier if I do it that way. Let's see, that's where our sticky side is. Okay, apparently it didn't stick. All right, well, we'll just do one side at a time. We'll do this. We'll stick this side, and we'll stick the other side. This glue might not work as well as Elmer's school glue. Elmer's school glue works wonderful. So basically, I'm just laying it down, and I'll come back with the iron and heat set it. There's where I stopped. sure the glue is up. I'm not just pretending to glue. This glue seems to be drying a little bit faster than I'm used to. And I'm not going to cut this just yet. We'll even it out on the cutting board here in a little bit. Get all the little pieces of fuzz. Right, since that one seemed to have come off, we'll try it again. I might have to get a different type of glue stick. Come on, Fuzzy. Let's stick the fuzzy in there. I want the fuzzy. Forgetting I don't need to glue that piece, but apparently I'm gluing it anyway. Not that it really matters because this glue isn't sticking the best. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put some clips on here for now to hold it a little better. And since this is a little piece and I plan on continuing my cross hatch afterwards, since this is my top and I'm not going to be adding any more to it and I'm just going to be binding it, I'm just going to about 1/8 of an inch go in and baste it down so that it doesn't come it doesn't move. That's the way I'm going to do it. If you have a better way of doing it and you would rather pen or go ahead and hand baste, you can with you could hand baste this with thread if you wanted to, or you could use pens. You could use a regular or the I can't think what they're called because I don't use them. Safety pins, the bent safety pins. You could use bent safety pins. They would work as well. That might be better. I don't have any to use, so I'm not going to be using them. Instead, I'm going to use glue and my clips, and then I'm going to go ahead and baste it down with my just a not a tight stitch, like I'll put it on like 8 or 9 so that I can, if I want to, I can take it out before I put my binding on it. Okay, so this is all kind of glued. I'll go ahead and make sure that it's ironed down. So we can, just going to heat set it a little bit and dry the glue. As you can see, it doesn't stick permanently. It's pretty much easy to peel it back if you need to reset it. So I'm just using a hot iron. I think it's set like it's 5 or 6. Okay, so we're done with the glue. Put that off to the side, and I'll just make sure that these are heat set. And then I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and sew down this edge. But before I do that, we'll go ahead and get the, we'll trim it. So let's go trim it first. We'll trim it first, and then we'll just use that board right there. I'll just use this. I'll just use my this one here. Okay, I'm just going to trim off the selvage edge. I'm not going to trim too much off, just enough to cut off the selvage. So where's the selvage edge? Right there. And straighten it out a little bit. And we'll do that to the other side as well. And this has my big long piece of batting. I could have cut it to size. I just, why do that? Okay, so this selvage edge is actually shorter than this one. Why, I don't know. It is. So we'll cut off this end. Don't need those anymore. And then what we will do is, like we've done in the past, where we're going to sew the fronts together. So I'm going to go ahead and pin the back so that I can, and here I will use my regular pins like I did before. And I'll pin those back. And I'm going to do the same thing on my border. I'm going to go ahead and pin the bottom back so that we can clip this to the quilt. And then we can sew it down. Sew it to our quilt. So I'll do this and we'll speed it up. Now you could do your, if you're doing free motion quilting or a different quilting pattern, we're doing the crosshatch. I'm doing the crosshatch, but you could go ahead and do a squiggly or do a meander, whatever you want down the side of your border, and then before you put it on. Like I said, I'm doing the crosshatch, and I think it'll be easier if I leave it to last. So I'm going to go ahead and get my quilt, and I'm going to pin it back like we did the rest of the time that we were putting it together, and then I'm going to join it, and I'll come back and show you how same thing, but how I sew it on. Okay, we're going to go back and then we'll add this to our quilt after I clip it. We've went ahead and pinned back the backs on both the back of the quilt and the back of our border so that we can join the tops together. So what I'm going to do is, my border piece is a little bit longer on both sides, and that way I don't have. All right, I'm using I've kind of already started it. I'm using a table to hold my massive quilt, and I have so that I'm sewing with the weight of my quilt and all my fluff and material, and because I have this small throat, I have everything to my left. So here goes. was going to go kind of slow because I'm going to have to readjust as I go. Make sure everything stays lined up. Now that we've sewed our border on and we've hand stitched it on the back, all hand stitched back here, it's completely together. We're going to trim off the, I should have done this early before I started my hatching, but you know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up even on my black one. I'm sure there's better ways to do this, but that's how I'm going to square mine up at the moment. Before I put the binding on, I'll go back and square it up even more. It's just an initial square up. All right, and then I'm going to flip it over and do the other side. Because it has two sides. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use the black border one because it's my straightest one. And it's something I can line up on. So I'll line up on that. All right. Cut that off. All right, that's my extra. And then I've already started. What I'm doing is I'm continuing my crosshatch through so that it goes all the way, because I didn't do a separate quilting on my border. So to continue my quilting through, I'm just like I did it when I did my blocks. I'm using my painter's tape and my ruler, and I'm doing it so that I can keep this little amount of material on my sewing machine. So I'll show you how I've been doing that. I've done a couple so far. Now I'm going to go back and do the other half. And then I'll come back and I will do the same thing here. I'll put my painter's tape down for my guidelines so I know where I'm going. And that's how I will finish up. And that's what I've been doing here. I've been doing the same thing when I connected them before. All right, we've got our top and our bottom on, and the side, I decided to put in a little corner piece on each end, along with our, like we did on the top. And to do that, a little bit of trial and error, for me anyway, and I'm sure there's better ways to do this, but this is how I did it. I went ahead and measured this down from the top in the center, kind of in the center. I went from the top to the top, which is 47 inches. So I need 47 inches of black and 47 inches of the plaid. And since I don't have, I'm doing it from selvage to selvage, and it's only 42, I cut two pieces and then I sewed them together. I cut two strips, and we'll do this, and I'll show you how to do it with the black. But because of the plaid, it doesn't work to do it this way. It still comes out kind of funky. So I did these. I just sewed them together end to end so that I could get my piece long enough. And then I went ahead, I cut it a little bit longer because I will go ahead and trim it when I'm done, but that way I've got a little room, wiggle room. But I can go ahead and lay this out straight and then cut it off. But I want my black piece on there first. So our black piece is 1.5 inches wide. So let's cut that. Okay, let's eat. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna even this off, and then I'm gonna cut 2 1.5 inch strips. Oops. Make sure it's open. It helps if the blade's open. All right, so 1.5. Don't seem to be putting very much pressure on it. All right, 1.5. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to sew these together into 2 strips. Can't find the opening. And what we're going, and then I'm going to lay. I'm going to, instead of doing these end to end this way, right sides together, I'm going to do my right sides together this way, and so corner to corner, and then that will help. All right, we're back at the sewing machine. I'm just going to line these up, and then I'm going to. You can try. You can draw a line across here if you want. I'm just going to eyeball it. So now when we lay it over, they line up nicely, and we'll trim off the excess bulk. And there we go. Now we will sew this to our 2-inch or our 3-inch piece, I believe this is. And then we will come back and get it, make sure it's the right size. And we will add our corner pieces. And then we will go ahead and start and sandwich it and add it to our quilt. All right, we're back from the sewing machine. And remember, we made this a little bit longer than what we needed. First off, I'm going to even off, I'm going to straighten out my edge on this side. And then we will cut it to length. All right, so that we got that side even. Now we will lay this out. And remember, we want this to line up to the top here, so that our black ones match up. And then we will lay this out. All right, so now there's where it is over here. And I'm just going to use this to fold it over so that I know I'm straight. And then I'm just going to cut that little piece off. Oh, it helps if you're right-handed. All right. Okay. Maybe I should line it up on the other side. Let's try it on the other side and see if that helps. Line it up. Line it up. And trim it off. All right. Now we have to make our little 4 patches. And I've already made some 4 patches. And they're in my little stash. As you can see, I have a whole bunch of them. And I'll just pick out 2. I think I already had some picked up, but anyway. I have a stash that we can pick from. There's one. Let's see. That's kind of a cute one. How about that? Well, this one's same as material as we have. I'm trying to keep it to the same colors. Ooh, here we go. That's kind of a cool one. All right, there's our two. Now we have to trim those down. Let me get set up so that we can trim them down. Take two. This is why we measure twice, cut once. All right. Find our 1.5. 1.5. There's the center. 1.5. One and a half. The center. One and a half. And 1.5. That's okay. And 1.5. All right, that one looks much better than that one. That one looked kind of funny. He's off a little. All right, and then our other one that we were going to do. All right, so now the other thing we need is we need to add a 1.5 inch by 3 inch piece to the side. So let's cut those. Let's see. My brain. These we're going to make, these are to line up with our black strips. Did I cut that one? Just a 1 1/4. Okay, let's try that again. I seem to have issues with counting today. 1.5. So 1, and there's my half. All right. And then they need to be 3 inches. So 1, 2, 3. All right, we'll go and we will sew these to the sides. And then, after we sew them to the sides, we will sew them to the top and the bottom. And then we can go ahead and, okay, that's gotta go on the bottom. Use this one on the bottom, okay. Looks kind of funny, but, so, that'll go on the bottom. Or the top. It makes sense to my brain here. And then we will connect it to our, then we'll make our sandwich and connect it like we have been. So I'm going to go sew these and show you how I do that. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and press these open, finger press them. And then I'm going to go ahead and add them to our other border piece. As long as I remember that the skinny pieces line up, we're doing good. All right, next we will go and lay out our 3 pieces, our 4-inch bottom piece, 4-inch batting, and our top piece, and we'll get those sandwiched together using our glue and our pens and our clip, and we will go ahead and start there. All right, now that we've sewed this, got our border pieces, we are gluing it down, bumpy side down to the back side, and then we will glue the top down on the smooth side. So basically all I'm doing is I've got a glue stick here, and I'm just running a line down it. Although it seems to be this glue is much better, has its advantages over the. Don't need a thick layer, just a little thin layer. Apparently this one's better than our glue from the dollar store. And basically we just run it down and just glue it down. Remember, you can pick it up and readjust if you need to. Okay. That's where my sticky ends. We'll run another bead in, another line of glue. I'm leaving this because this is the side I'm going to be attaching to the quilt, so I don't want that one. I don't need that stuck down. So that's the side that we're going to attach. Okay, go for glue. I keep losing my glue stick. It's a runaway glue stick. Okay, and remember, you want to pull the back and pin it down so that we can attach it. So this is where our little pins come in handy. We're just going to do that all the way down like we've done in the past. Remember, you can base this side down if it seems to not be staying. I mean, you can stitch base this, which I did on my other one because my glue wasn't sticking. And no matter what I did, it didn't want to stick. So I just went ahead and did a basting stitch down the edge, because this edge doesn't really matter. This is the edge that we're going to trim, and is also going to be where our binding is going to be. So not too concerned about it. Next, we will go ahead and attach this to our quilt like we've done in the past. And with this, well, we still have to go ahead and pin these back. And I'll go ahead and do that off camera. I'm back. I have already pinned these back so that we have access to the just the one side. And I did the same thing on this one. We're going to line them, make sure we have them going the right way. And the only spots that we have to really be concerned about lining up is right here on the corners. So we'll make sure that these two black ones line up. And really, we only have to line it up. See where this intersection is up here on the top? And we just have to line it up with that intersection. And that will help us So I'm going to put a pin there just because it helps it stick better than my clips. And then we'll clip it all the way down. They're lined up. Okay. And then we'll just clip these together until we get to the other side. And we'll use our fancy little clips. I like these little clips. And you can still use the pins, but these are so much nicer because they do not poke you. You can put as many as you want. We don't have to worry about the lining up any seams, any intersections here. We just line up the two pieces. And I know it doesn't look like we're going the right direction but our backing fabric, but we've got it going the right direction. It's kind of deceiving. Lining it up all the way down. Make sure that this side again is lined up with the top. Again, I'm just going to use one pin and poke it through into the other intersection. That way they line up. We've got it sewed together. So now we're going to lay down, make sure we iron down or make sure that if it needs to be, that our seams are all going the same way. And then we're going to lay down the top, one side, and we'll come back and cover. And I like to do it where this one comes over, it's going the same way as the seam is, and then lay this over the top. And it's been brought to my attention that I should probably trim it, but I'm finding that because this is so bulky, that the extra that lays over the top, it actually helps pad it. This is totally up to you if you want to trim it. I'm not trimming it on this one. In future ones I might, but for now I'm just going ahead and just double layering it. And like I said, you can if you want to clip it, but I'm not. Personal preference. Anyway, this is from our glue. I have to bring it back a little bit. And then I'm going to go back and iron it down so it's flat. Helps it to lay flat. And then we go back, once we've gone all the way down and gotten it laid out flat, then what we do is that I go back and I go ahead and fold over this one that I'm going to be sewing. I just fold it over about a quarter of an inch. All the way down. And then that helps when we lay it over and pin it in to hold it. It actually helps it lay better and flat. So that you can pin it down, and then after it's all pinned in place, I'll come back and hand sew it down using the ladder stitch. We'll see you back after I've hand stitched it down and after I have come back in and finished out my quilting. And I'll show you that, and then the next step will be to do binding. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and finish this off camera, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like before we add the binding. Good enough. Thanks for watching to the end of this video. If you like what you saw and you haven't yet clicked the like and subscribe buttons, now's the time so you don't miss upcoming episodes. Did you miss the beginning of this? Check out the playlist linked below in the description. Come on back when I add the finishing touches. See you in the next episode.